last time on World War II. The complete roast. We saw the Treaty of Versailles turn Germany into an economic dumpster fire, creating the perfect breeding ground for extremism, hyperinflation, mass unemployment, national humiliation, all the ingredients you need to cook up a dictator. And now, the dictator has entered the chat. Alright, let's talk about the man himself, Adolf Hitler. The walking, talking proof that rejection emails can have catastrophic consequences. This guy applied to the Vienna Academy of Fine Arts twice, and got rejected both times. His portfolio was apparently so mediocre that the admissions committee looked at his paintings and said, yeah, maybe try architecture instead. Imagine being so bad at art that even art school, a place that accepts people who glue macaroni to canvas and call it postmodern commentary, tells you to find another career path. So what does a normal person do when their dreams get crushed? Get a regular job. Maybe become a graphic designer, start a YouTube channel about painting tutorials. But Hitler, no. Hitler decided the appropriate response was to blame an entire ethnic group for his personal failures, and then launch a genocidal war that killed 75 million people. It's the ultimate I'll show them moment. Except, instead of writing a strongly worded Yelp review, he wrote Mein Kampf, and then invaded Poland. Let me paint you a picture of young Hitler, because it's somehow even more pathetic than you think. After getting rejected from art school, he spent years as a homeless drifter in Vienna, living in flop houses and selling postcards to tourists. He was basically that guy who sits outside Whole Foods with a cardboard sign. Except his sign would be said the Jews did this, and everyone would be across the street to avoid him. He had no friends, no money, no prospects, and a growing persecution complex the size of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Then World War I happened, and suddenly Hitler found purpose. He joined the German army, became a dispatch runner, not exactly frontline heroics, but enough to earn a couple of medals and develop a severe case of nationalism mixed with resentment. He got gassed in 1918, temporarily blinded, and spent the rest of his life convinced that Germany lost the war because of internal betrayal, not because, they were fighting the entire world and ran out of everything except bad ideas. When the war ended, Hitler returned to a Germany that was unrecognizable. The monarchy was gone. The economy was trash. The Treaty of Versailles had turned the country into Europe's punching bag, and Hitler, lying in a hospital bed recovering from mustard gas exposure, had what he later called his political awakening, which is Husta. Fancy way of saying he decided to blame all of Germany's problems on Jews, communists, and anyone who wasn't a member of his imaginary master race. Fast forward to 1923. Hitler's joined this tiny fringe political group called the German Workers' Party, later rebranded as the National Socialist German Workers' Party, or Nazis for short, because even their name was false advertising. There was nothing socialist about them, and they definitely didn't care about workers. They were just really good at branding, which is apparently all you need when your target audience is angry, desperate, and looking for simple answers to complex problems. In November 1923, Hitler decided to launch a coup, the beer hall Putsch, because he literally tried to overthrow the Bavarian government by storming a beer hall and declaring a revolution. It failed so spectacularly that it would be hilarious if it wasn't a preview of future horrors. People died, Hitler got arrested, and the whole thing collapsed faster than a crypto scheme after the founder's yacht gets repossessed. Here's where it gets interesting. Instead of disappearing into obscurity, like every other failed revolutionary, Hitler got sentenced to 5 years in prison and served less than 9 months. 9 months. He tried to violently overthrow the government and got less jail time than people caught with marijuana in some US states today. And what did he do with those 9 months? He wrote Mein Kampf, his autobiographical manifesto that literally spelled out his plans for world domination, racial purification, and conquering Europe. Let me be clear. Hitler published the instruction manual. It wasn't subtle. It wasn't coded. It was, here is exactly what I am going to do if you give me power. And people still gave him power. It's like if someone posted on social media, when I'm in charge, I'm going to commit crimes against humanity. And everyone responded by making them chancellor. The red flags weren't just present, they were doing synchronized swimming routines while on fire. But here's the thing that should terrify you. Hitler didn't seize power through force. He was elected. Well, kind of. The Nazi Party used Germany's democratic system like a ladder. climbing it rung by rung until they could kick it away. They exploited the Weimar Republic's proportional representation system, made backroom deals with conservative politicians who thought they could control him, and convinced President Hindenburg, an 85-year-old relic from the imperial era, to appoint Hitler as chancellor in January 1933. The conservative elites thought Hitler was just a useful populist they could manipulate. "We'll use his popularity to secure our power, then sideline him," they told themselves, probably while smoking cigars and congratulating each other on their political genius. Spoiler alert, they were idiots. Within months, Hitler had consolidated power, outlawed opposition parties, and turned Germany into a one-party dictatorship. The conservatives who thought they were using him ended up either joining his regime or becoming irrelevant. It's the political equivalent of thinking you can pet a rabid wolf because you gave it a treat once. Now let's talk about how Hitler actually rose to power, because this is where the parallels to modern politics get uncomfortable. His strategy was simple: identify people's fears, amplify them, find scapegoats, promise simple solutions, and never let facts interfere with a good emotional narrative. Sound familiar? Hitler didn't win over Germans by being smart or charismatic in a traditional sense. He won by being a grievance-fueled loudmouth who told desperate people exactly what they wanted to hear. You're not poor because of complex economic factors. You're poor because the Jews control the banks. You're not unemployed because of a global depression. You're unemployed because communists and foreigners stole your jobs. Germany isn't struggling because we lost a war, or Germany is struggling because we were stabbed in the back by traitors. So, Hitler had the plan, the party, and the political power. It was the original populist playbook, and it worked because humans are wired to prefer simple lies over complex truths. We want villains we can point at, problems we can solve with anger, and leaders who promise that everything will be great again if we just follow them and hate the right people. It's the same algorithm that powers modern political movements: find an enemy, promise a return to a mythical golden age, and never, ever admit that real solutions require nuance, compromise, and time. The Nazi Party wasn't a political movement, it was a cult with better merchandising. They had uniforms, rallies, symbols, salutes, and anthems. They created a complete aesthetic identity that made people feel like they belonged to something bigger than themselves. And humans crave belonging, especially when everything else in their lives is falling apart. The Nazis offered certainty in uncertain times, strength in weakness, pride in humiliation. All you had to do was stop thinking critically and start hating the designated enemies. And the propaganda, Joseph Goebbels, Hitler's propaganda minister, understood something that every modern social media company has rediscovered. It doesn't matter if something is true, only if it's emotionally resonant and repeated often enough. Tell a lie once, people might question it. Tell that same lie 1,000 times through every media channel available, and it becomes truth for millions. Facts don't matter when feelings are involved. By 1934, Hitler had eliminated all political opposition, purged rivals within his own party during the Night of the Long Knives, and established himself as a supreme leader with absolute power. Democracy in Germany didn't die in darkness, it died in broad daylight, broadcast on radio, celebrated with torchlit rallies, and cheered by millions who genuinely believed they were making Germany great again. Now here, that's the part your history teacher definitely skipped. Hitler was running Germany while constantly high on a cocktail of drugs that would make a Coachella bathroom stall jealous. His personal physician, Dr. Theodor Morell, was essentially a dealer with a medical license. Over 4 years, Hitler received over 800 injections of various substances: methamphetamine, oxycodone, cocaine, testosterone derivatives, and a bunch of other stuff that had no business being in a human body, let alone the body of someone making decisions about invading countries. 800 injections. That's more than one injection every 2 days for 4 straight years. Hitler wasn't just making terrible decisions, he was making them while tweaking harder than a day trader watching their meme stocks crash. This was a man who would stay up for days, paranoid and jittery, moving armies around maps, like a kid playing Risk, while completely disconnected from reality. His strategic decisions in the later war: years refusing to retreat, demanding impossible victories, convinced of his own infallibility, start making a lot more sense when you realize he was essentially governing while on a permanent drug binge. Imagine if your boss came to work every day visibly high on methamphetamine, made increasingly erratic decisions, refused to listen to anyone, and had the power to fire you by literally firing you. That was the Third Reich's leadership structure. And let's talk about the German people, because we need to have an uncomfortable conversation. The narrative that everyone was terrified and powerless is a comforting lie. Sure, the Gestapo existed. Yes, dissent was dangerous. But you don't systematically murder 6 million Jews with just a handful of secret police. You need accountants tracking every person, engineers designing efficient killing facilities, factory workers manufacturing the machinery, train operators running the schedules, bureaucrats filing the paperwork, neighbors reporting suspicious activity, ordinary people making thousands of individual choices to participate, look away, or actively support what was happening. The Holocaust wasn't committed by a few evil men in black coats. It was a society-wide collaboration. It required banality, routine, and the participation of millions of regular people who convinced themselves they were just following orders, just doing their jobs, just trying to survive. Hannah Arendt called it the banality of evil, and she was right. The scariest thing about Nazi Germany wasn't that it was run by monsters, it was that it was run by ordinary people who chose monstrosity, and they had motivations beyond fear. Many Germans genuinely bought into the ideology. They believe it. In Lebensraum, live in space. The idea that Germany deserved to expand eastward and that Slavic peoples were inferior and disposable. It was colonialism with a swastika. The original tech bro mindset of we redisrupting Eastern Europe by optimizing the use of this farmland, currently wasted on Poles and Ukrainians. It was genocide dressed up as economic policy, and people supported it because it promised them prosperity, land, and restored national pride. Let me be absolutely clear. This wasn't some ancient history or alien civilization. This was 26 million Germans in the 1930s and 40s, making daily choices about what to tolerate, what to ignore, and what to actively support. Every society contains the seeds of this kind of horror. The question is whether people water those seeds or pull them out by the roots. And before anyone in the comments goes, well, I would have resisted, let me stop you right there. Statistically, you probably wouldn't have. Most people don't. That's not a personal attack, it's historical reality. Resistance requires courage that most humans don't have, especially when the cost is torture, death, and reprisals against your family. But acknowledging that does unexcuse the millions who did. UN just passively tolerate the regime. They actively participated in its crimes. So yeah, Hitler rose from failed artist to genocidal dictator because he had a perfect storm of conditions. Economic collapse, political instability, a population desperate for easy answers, conservative elites who thought they could control him, a democratic system vulnerable to exploitation, and a society willing to trade freedom for the promise of renewed greatness. Oh, and lots of methamphetamine. Never underestimate the role of methamphetamine. Now, you might be thinking, okay, but surely the economy under Hitler was at least functioning, right? All those Autobahns and Volkswagens. Oh, sweet summer child. Let me tell you about the Nazi economy, and that's exactly what part 3 covers. We're going to expose how Hitler's economic miracle was actually a Ponzi scheme built on slave labor, deficit spending, and systematic theft. How the regime couldn't pay its bills without invading neighbors and looting them. How American corporations profited from Nazi slave labor while American boys died fighting them. It's going to make you sick. And it's old. Click that next video right now. Part 3 is live, and it only gets more cynical from here. Or check the full playlist in the description. And if this episode made you realize how easily democracies can collapse when people choose comfort over vigilance, hit that subscribe button. We've got 6 more episodes that'll make you question everything you thought you knew about World War II. Comment below which modern politician most reminds you of Hitler's rise through grievance politics, the scapegoating, the promises to restore national greatness. Let's have that uncomfortable conversation and support this series at kofi.com/midnightminhistorian. Because the more caffeine I consume, the more historical villains I can roast. Every dollar keeps this from becoming a boring lecture. Part 3. The Nazi Economia Pyramid Scheme with Panzers. Watch it now, before YouTube recommends you another meditation video.